Radio Nahmaste is brought to you by your host, the blue-collar goddess, Sarah Nash, and a small crew of guest personalities determined to amuse, entertain, and occasionally astonish you. And now, Radio Namaste, a different brand of enlightenment streaming live across this galaxy and probably a few more.
This is Sarah Nash as your host, and you are listening to Radio Namaste on the OMTimes radio network, bringing you enlightenment the blue-collar goddess way. Hey, for those of you who are interested in the blue-collar path, which is the blue-collar goddess way, there will finally be a book later this year, tentatively titled Welcome to My World, with an accompanying words. Zen Master Ted, remind me, words. Accompanying, it's an oracle deck, and we've been working on this, and I finally got the last bits and pieces of it put together. I've been working on this thing for over a year, and I'm really excited about it, so, stay tuned. But, welcome to my world. It's going to either be, like, verifiable proof for admittance to a psych unit, or create a sense of, like, wow, compatible insanity forever. I'm not really alone after all for a lot of my gentle readers. So the last 5 weeks of my life have really sort of defined what I'm going to call like the cosmic acid trip. I'm every time I think I'm going to catch my breath, my capabilities and new information and channeling, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you're breathing. All right, now go back under the water. So, well, anyways, remember to hit me up on our Twitter. That's at Radio Namaste with the hashtag Blue Collar Goddess. And you'll get the opportunity to be in the drawing for a free 1-hour Skype session. I'm going to put all those love notes in a hat, and Zen Master Ted is going to snag one out. We'll announce the winner on the monthly wrap-up show. Thanks to John Oliver for last week today. We're going to call it the last month today. Is that right?
Last month today.
Yeah, imitation is like the highest form of compliment, right?
Absolutely.
So, so hashtag that. Blue Collar Goddess at Radio Namaste and get in the hat for the goods. Those are the good goods. You already know that you don't have to download an app to get the live streaming access to this conscious community called OMTimes Radio if you're listening live. But you're going to want to check out the archives for past shows at the OMTimes Podbean portal or on Namaste. That's namaste.com in the show archive section. Zen Master Ted will give you a tweet about that in a minute or two, so star that and make it a favorite for easy access later. Today's show was supposed to be about last week's show. But, actually, today's show was supposed to be about, it was supposed to actually be what we were going to do last week. But I just couldn't find the ground beneath my feet mostly as a result of a really long trip back to the United States from Denmark. And the executive decision was just to take a mental health day. That's kind of a cool thing to do when you're self-employed and you actually have sort of a legacy behind you. I was like, I'm going to pick and choose a couple of things. The show that I wanted to be rebroadcast was mostly because I wanted more hashtags and talk about Coffee for Consciousness, because we are going to give away one of those signed copies today. And Vito Mucci is thank goodness for Vito. That's all I got to say, because over the last 5 weeks, if I didn't have this book, Coffee for Consciousness 101, to ground me a lot of the time, there might be a chance that I would be sort of sitting in a corner and drooling. It's seriously, I'm not kidding. It's I don't think I ever need to take another drug in my life. This again, I'm calling it a cosmic acid trip. Colors are brighter. I see things differently. I hear things differently. My capabilities have been ramped up. On the other hand, what my new paradigm is doing for me is that it's really causing me I have to really sit back and ask people to decipher what they're feeling, why they're feeling that way, because as an emotional genius and as a clairvoyant, first, above all, more than anything, I'm a mentalist. I know that a lot of my so-called capabilities are simply as a result of being legally deaf in one ear and not being able to hear very well as a child. I really believe that evolution has, sort of like taken away some of our innate capabilities. And I think I was able actually to pick up on a lot of like very subtle cues.
Yeah, you couldn't hear with your ears, so you heard with your other senses. And I think you really honed those other senses as a result of that.
Exactly. I could tell when people they'd be like, "Are you okay?" And people would be like, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm fine." And I could see, even as a young child, that they were lying. So I was predisposed to thinking, your lips are moving, so you must be lying. And Zen Master Ted, you and I had a conversation about our perceptions as children, and yesterday.
Yeah, and we saw the world as quite different from what people would have us believe it really was, because we were able to really see the people as they were rather than as they would have us believe they were.
Exactly. And that can be very confusing for a child.
Yeah.
However, as a child, you're predisposed to a lot of you are not predisposed to certain types of thought processes or what is right or what is wrong with regard to what is acceptable and what isn't acceptable. And when I would tell my mother, when I saw Lost Horizon, the musical, I love the older one too, the one made in the 1930s. I was like, I'm from that place. And I would start telling her about how people were very nice. They were, and it's not just nice, okay? It's like people in Denmark. They're very conscious. It's like it's part of their upbringing. They're not too informal with each other. They're polite because it's just not appropriate to presume intimacy.
Right, and I think one of the important distinctions to make there is perhaps the fact that, especially in the United States, we place a great value on individualism, but that also means that we are subtly programmed to think me before we, whereas in other parts of the world, and namely Denmark, we are socially taught to think we before me, and I think that adds to that particular equation.
Exactly, and that right there defines a portion of what I believe a light worker is. My path over the last 5 weeks has really been honing and defining this word, this thing called a light worker. As I decided that I was going to get serious about my life instead of just sit in my garden and grow tomatoes and, watch reruns of I Love Lucy, I decided to get serious about this path, this Radio Nahmaste, the White Light Express, which is my passion and which is something that I have developed and been very, very conscious of because I truly believe in the power of positive, focused intention. Well, how foolish of us to, it's people, they believe in evil, but they don't believe in good. It's like, well, I believe in this creature called Satan, this being called Satan, and yet God somehow doesn't exist. I've always thought that when there's one, there has to be the other, and I'm guilty of that. And this is what my new paradigm has been doing. I did not realize how arrogant I was with my thought process before, because I would tell people, this is what you're feeling, this is what you're seeing. As a life coach, it was really important for me to be able to map out their lives and see what was going on, but I never made them show their work. And this is a very, very important key, and I go over this very, very it's almost obsessive how important it is for the universe to see your work. And stay tuned. You're going to have to read OMTimes magazine because I'm getting ready for a 3-part series called, Are You a Spiritual Bully? And why the rituals without the Ouija, why the universe expects to see your work, because it's a very important part of the process. It wasn't enough, I realize now, that I knew how people arrived at their destination of pain, of suffering, into my cosmic ER. It was important for them to realize it. And I did not understand the importance of that in a way that is literally, I feel as though I have some sort of like mental block with moving forward or backward. So when the person, the entity, and oh, wow. I'm really upset. We're just about ready to reveal the
Father Mulchahey Award.
I'm so angry about this that, even now I find myself getting really stunted with my feelings and emotions because I really have to put a cap on them. With great power comes great responsibility, and with great knowledge also comes great responsibility. And I see things so clearly now that I'm almost becoming obsessive about how I define things. It's like the Danish language. There's actually no word or way to say excuse me. There is, however, the appropriate way to say, please step aside because I need to walk across the room and pick up the apple.
Right, exactly. I mean, it asks you to be responsible for what you're asking for, in a sense. And, excuse me is just a get out of my way, but that doesn't make as much grammatic sense as saying, excuse me, I need to reach the apple. And so it is, in a sense, a more conscious way of speaking.
Well, I used to, oh, wow. I've been blah, blah, blahing here for 15 minutes. Bottom line is that as we release and reveal the Father Mulchahey Award, it's very important for listeners to understand that being just not liking evil, like notice that, well, I don't like evil things, doesn't make you a light worker. And it doesn't even really make you a good person. As a result of the person who sent me some information regarding my former co-host, Millie, this happened on Monday, and it sort of sent me in a tailspin. And I've really had to sit back and ponder why people are so incredibly mean, and they pretend to be decent people, but they're not. They're not. They are imposters. They're frauds, and they just simply decide to go out and hurt people simply for the sake of hurting people. And I don't understand that, and that really put me in a tailspin. So we're going to talk about that when we get back from our break. But as we go into our break, we're going to go ahead and remind you that you're listening to the OMTimes Radio Network.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Hey ladies, do you want to have that good hair day feeling all the time? Gentlemen, would you want your special someone to have that glow, letting you know she's feeling completely satisfied? This feeling and that glow can be yours by embracing your sexual power. So join me, Rachel Kenley, award-winning romance author, on the O-Spot. The O-Spot will guide you to that peak with guest interviews, book discussions, and conversations on the thrills of sexual empowerment. Put the zing back in your life. Come up and see me sometime on the O-Spot, live on Hump Day at 10 p.m. Eastern.
Being a radio host on IOM-FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Evolution is where sexuality and spirituality meets. Join me, clinical sexologist Martha Tara Lee, on Eros Evolution on Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM-FM.
Greetings and welcome back. I was tripping along trying to stuff my anger back down my throat, and I was doing some breathing exercises and doing all the things that I thought I used to think were like, oh, look at those people, they're so cute. Look at them breathe, going, I was actually doing them. Oh, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Let's go back to the executive decision of last week, Zen Master Ted, to take a mental health day.
Yes.
And the dilemma with that is that once you've done that, when you're in my position and in your position, it sort of becomes like a seductive escape plan, especially when you're awake. So let's talk about being awake and what that really means, and why Rumi is like, don't fall back asleep, be awake, be awake. We're reaching full saturation now, I think, with all of these words. And I thought to myself, if I hear one more comment about, ascension symptoms,
Right.
I was going to, my brain was going to explode. Well, my brain had already exploded, and I'm going to let my listeners know that I think that what is happening to me is a period of time when you're really waking up, and it becomes very confusing. You can't quite decide if what you're seeing is real or not real. And it becomes so tangible that, like Gary Zukav says, consider how powerful the soul is. If it can have a part of itself that experiences great love, a part of itself that experiences fears, a part that's perhaps neutral, a part that experiences schizophrenia, and a part that is dramatically compassionate. I honestly believe that I was awake before. I think that I was sort of sleepwalking, kind of being awake. And now that I'm really waking up, I feel stupid because now I have to really pay attention. I have to really sit back and go, okay, I went through all of those so-called ascension symptoms, adrenal fatigue, this, that, and the other. And, maybe it's that we have to experience these things first because we literally signed up to be here as quote unquote light workers. And so now we get to be sort of like the Marines. We go in first, we experience all the trauma and the pain, and we muddle through it, and then we get to help others. I have not yet found the definitive book, thank you people, I'm writing it, about how to get from point A to point B when you're in this place. I think what happens is that there are a lot of these gurus out there, even including Eckhart Tolle. It's like, oh, you're beside your pain body. You must be in your pain. Well, let's see our work. Can we really just admit how soul-crushing this experience is? How desperately weird and bizarre, and in fact, Grandmother Alaya, she has a wonderful show on OMTimes Radio. She just hit me up yesterday out of the blue. She always says this. She's like, "Are you okay?" No, actually I'm not. And it was perfect timing. And I explained to her what was going on with me, and she said, "Darling, your spirit is ascending. Your spirit, your physical body and your spiritual body are like, they're ascending, you're coming together." I'm like, there's that word. I'm going to shoot somebody. Ascension. But because it was coming from a place of love and compassion, I felt grounded for the first time in I think maybe 5 days. And she said, "Listen, I went through this in my 20s. I'm like, "Can I read that book? Because I need the self-help manual on that place in between enlightenment and, that twilight zone." Maybe I should call it the twilight zone. I don't know. Anyways, so let's get back to the point. Ernest Hemingway said this really incredible thing. The best people possess a feeling for beauty, the courage to take risks, the discipline to tell the truth, the capacity for sacrifice, and ironically, their virtues make them vulnerable. They are often wounded and sometimes destroyed. And I keep thinking to myself, this is the place, I think, where a lot of people just they either shut down completely. They're like, okay, I can't deal with this. I'm going to go drink a beer. I can see why a lot of people might be diagnosed as schizophrenic, or because you really begin to question your sanity. And we have to think about being insane. So Zen Master Ted, when I sat you down a couple of days ago and said, "Listen, I think I might have suffered oxygen deprivation on the airplane. I might have had a stroke. It's okay if you put me in the hospital," what'd you say to me?
Well, it's all about change and it's about growth. And I mean, one of the analogies I used is it feels strange because it's almost like you put on a new pair of shoes and they're the greatest shoes ever on the planet. But for the first 3 or 4 days, they're going to feel really weird, and they may even squeeze your toes and give you a blister. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you have gone from wearing flip-flops to wearing the greatest hiking shoes on the planet.
I was very, very grateful to realize that I have people that I truly trust. And trust is a huge issue here, because I'm looking at people and I'm really seeing people as they are, and I really have to see myself as I am. So when I received this letter from a listener about my former co-host, Motorized Millie, This is what it said, and I'm going to read it to the world here because it's sort of like, I hit the ground running on Monday, answered some email, and then I got this. It's like, Dear Sarah, I have listened to your shows and watched your videos on YouTube. I'd consider myself a fan of the healing powers you generously give to the world. Okay, at this point, I'm like, okay, cool, thanks. I'm concerned a bit about one of your regular guests. I think her name was Millie. I'm like, oh, really? What happened? This is what I'm thinking, these things I'm reading. I felt some strange energy when she would speak, as if there was some kind of destructive vibration in the force that was coming from her. At this point, I'm like, whoa, what? Like, okay. So I continue reading. I try to like everyone and give them a chance, but something about her grated on my last nerve. Like, all right, well, everybody has a right to their opinion, right? It's like, and Millie has in my opinion, she kind of reminds me of like maybe a 7-year-old and or an 8-year-old, because the innocence in her being actually does come through. I mean, she's kind of funny. She hasn't had to deal with she's had to deal with her own brand of crap. And it's different from our brand of crap because she's had a different paradigm and a different experience. So while I think that she's not maybe as jaded as we are, she's infinitely more tender and more vulnerable because she doesn't possess the tools that we have as people who can get out and about every single day and have to mingle with the muggles, so to speak. So he says this, right? So I am contacting I'm contacting you because of a recording that apparently has gone viral on the internet. It was forwarded to me from a friend who got it from a friend, etc. Apparently it is some kind of prank, and I would almost swear that the woman in it is Millie. What's really odd is that she confesses to some strange proclivities that don't seem to align with the persona that she projects when on your show. I'm like, yeah, because out there she's a badass. I'm light worker badass. Like I've worked with her out there, and I wouldn't want to piss her off. Anyways, I'm like, okay, maybe it's not her, but I'd recognize that voice from my closed coffin, I feel like there's a lot that no one knows about her. Maybe you should surprise her live on the air and play this recording to get an honest reaction. I'm like, what? Why? Okay, first of all, it's kind of mean. And I wouldn't do that, especially not to somebody that I loved and cared for. And now I'm thinking, Anyways, he continues on. I hope that if it is her, I hope that if that is her porn-loving energy does not defecate on your spirit or dull your natural light. At that point, I'm like, what? I thought this has to be a joke. I was really kind of afraid to listen to the recording. But, I said a prayer, I scanned it, I was like, all right, whatever. A concerned listener viewer. I'm like, all right, so I listened to it. I listened to it a couple of times. I'm like, what the heck? It sure enough was Millie. I was like, what? And I could see, and I've known Millie for years and years and years now. In fact, my mother has adopted her as her other daughter. Right. I mean, it's like, I think they talk more on the phone than I do. I don't know. I'm like, hey, Peter, Zen Master Ted, come on over here, listen to this. And he's like, huh. I said, who is that? He's like, sounds like Millie. Zen Master Ted hasn't spent a lot of time on the phone with Millie. Anyways, so the recording essentially comes from a place called prankdial.com. And it's some cable guy saying that he's arrived and he's double checking whether or not they have their appointment tomorrow to install a family filter on the cable box. And oh wow, this is kind of awkward. Have you downloaded? It says you've downloaded 8 adult movies in the last 5 days or whatever. And poor Millie. Like, first of all, she lives in an environment that is it's like a group environment through the Association for Disabled that. It's called the American Housing Association for Disabled. I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize. If you want the name of it, I can go ahead. But I mean, like, literally. And so she's confused, and you can tell that she's confused. And this is really, it's mean. It's just malicious, and it's just mean. And so when I went and I backtracked, and I'd never heard of prankdial.com. I went over there and I looked at it and I thought, wow, not only is this person using this to slander her, but it's just downright mean. So I call Millie and I don't say anything to her, and I'm like, hey, Millie, did you get like a prank call over the... And she's like, yeah, I got 2 of them when you were in Denmark. I'm like, so just out of curiosity, what's an adult movie to you? And, you know, she goes on to explain to me that, you know, let's keep in mind that, you know, this is a woman whose guilty pleasure is maybe watching a soap opera, right?
That's correct.
And that's
yeah,
it. That's
absolutely.
like the end of it. An adult movie to Millie would be sort of like, you know, Poltergeist or and she's not stupid, okay? Let's keep in mind that this is not a stupid woman. This is an incredibly intelligent woman. She's incredibly compassionate, and she's also very innocent. There is not a bad bone in this woman's body, and she's been through hell, literally hell. When I explained to her what happened, it was just, I was so bewildered and so blown away that somebody would do this to somebody so beautiful, and people, thank you. Thank you, Zen Master Ted. The gong has gonged. People, I have to tell you, this made me put the brakes on a lot of work that I had to do this week, because I am unable to move from point A to point B until I am capable of putting all the missing pieces together. And in the past, I've been incredibly arrogant. I've just taken things for face value. And it's a little humbling when I have to sit back and look at how I view the world these days. And my soul was crushed. Millie's soul was crushed, and I thought, when are we going to stop allowing mean people to be mean people? Because this person was a friend of hers on Facebook, was saying really, really nice things to her face, and then turning around and doing this. And I could not put 2 and 2 together. I could not. And the more I began thinking about it, the more I thought, why is it any wonder? Is it any wonder that it's so difficult to move through this world when there are people who just get their jollies from being mean? When we come back, Zen Master Ted has another award to give.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, this is Sylvia Henderson, intuitive life coach and energy healer. Are you ready to elevate and rise way above your normal? Be sure to listen to my show, Intuitive Transformations, on OMTimes Radio, Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern. Get the inspiration you need to transform your life.
Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network. Simone Milasas would like you to know that business can be fun, which is why she wrote the book, Joy of Business. What if you could have the joy of business rather than the stress and struggle? Most of the time, the only thing stopping you from a thriving business is you. In the Joy of Business book, Simone gives you access consciousness tools and pragmatic ways to get out of your own way and to create the business, life, and living you know is possible and beyond what this reality says is achievable. Business is joy. It's creation. It's generative. It can be the adventure of living. You can purchase your copy of the book through Amazon or Joy of Business website, www.accessjoyofbusiness.com.
The truth is, you can't change the world if you're broke. I know, I've tried. Isn't it time you turned your life's calling into a profitable, freedom-based business? I'm Michelle Barr. Join me every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for Sacred Success.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
I keep sitting here looking at my outline going, I am like way over. Like, let's just focus on how mean this idiot is. So, congratulations, dude. You're really lucky that my legal team has decided to give me some pointers about how to present this karma violation ticket that you will be getting. You know who you are. And I guarantee you're probably listening. In fact, I really feel in my heart and soul that your little evil, twisted plan, the only thing it succeeded in doing was bringing a whole bunch of us a lot closer. So congratulations. You get the Father Mulchahey Award. I will be posting it. I will be taking a picture of it, and I will be posting it on Radio Nahmaste. And you're very, very lucky that in this third dimension world that I have an excellent team of legal advisors, because you're an idiot, okay? You're an idiot.
Well, I've been thinking that this particular individual should not only get a Father Mulchahey Award, but he really also deserves a special Radio Namaste nomination for a Darwin Award.
A what? A Darwin Award?
A Darwin Award. For those listeners out there who are not familiar with the Darwin Awards, they're kind of a tongue-in-cheek award given to individuals for their so-called contribution to the human gene pool. Typically because they engage in acts so staggeringly stupid, they actually take themselves out of the gene pool, hence the word contributions gets in there. Anyway, one of the official criteria for a Darwin Award is exhibiting astoundingly stupid judgment. And in the case at hand, was this individual really ignorant or naive enough to believe they could send an impugning letter to a radio station and not trigger a team of fact-checkers and investigators to verify not only the factual content of the allegations, but also an investigation of the background of both the messenger and the original source? Really?
Really?
Congratulations! Your award is in the mail, and don't forget to wait by your mailbox till it gets there.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we do have an excellent team of legal advisors. And so this really got me to the point where I went, all right, you know what? What is a light worker? Really? I mean, the bottom line is that I've been trying to hone my expertise because I do so many things very, very well. I'm a Jacqueline of all and a master of none, which is not entirely true, but it is because I have studied and studied and studied and spent so many years, developing this quasi psychological, spiritual modality for healing that involves, a little bit of truth from this place and this place and this place, that it's sort of like a mishmash. Now, like Michelle Whitedove, one of our previous guests, who I love, when people say, okay, celebrity psychic, she's kind of like the go-to, right? And when people say, a spiritual advisor, Marianne Williamson, she's like the definitive, like A Course in Miracles. And when you think a light worker, who gets to define a light worker? It's Steve Pavlina, he's out there and he's been, I really started reading some of his articles and things. And there really isn't, though, what I do. And the funny thing is recently I just posted something on Facebook with regard to somebody was like, was like, hey, I was doing this informal survey with my friends and what have you. And I was like, so what am I really good at? And, a lot of them were just amazing. And I love you all. Thank you so much. But the bottom line is I really just need to dial it in. And one of my friends was like, yeah, your specialty is getting used. It's like, sometimes I sit back and I think, well, what would the blue collar goddess, what would Sarah do? And then I do the exact opposite. The reason that was funny, and thank you for the heads up on this, you know who you are because you wrote me back, but the reason that was funny is because this is now a client. This is somebody who actually calls me and pays me to assist them with their soul plan and their life's path. And that's why it was really funny. And I realize now that it's very, very important for me to really just kind of like be very specific and very defined about the process and why I think something is funny or why I think this or why I think that, instead of just presuming that everybody knows what I'm talking about, because quite frankly, I think very few people actually know what I'm talking about. And as I've been pushing through this determination of what I am, and the bottom line is that I am a light worker. I am an expert light worker. I have taken all of this information and all of my experiences and everything I do, and at the end of the day, if somebody says, hey, you got a light? Yeah, man, I got a light, because I am desperately, desperately afraid of the dark, but not so afraid that I won't go in ahead of you holding the light up. And I've done it again and again and again, and I will continue doing it, because as my teacher and mentor, Kathy Lynn Douglas, pointed out, a single speck of light will dispel an entire universe of darkness, and nothing frightens me more than the darkness. And it does, but there is that frightened where you get to the point where it's so soul crushing, where Millicent actually said, Sarah, I don't think I can do this anymore. I really don't think that I can put myself out on the front line anymore. And you know what? I appreciate that kind of honesty. I really do. And I applaud it, because she's still holding a light. All right? Let's not forget that. She's still holding a light, and she's still doing what she's doing, and she's behind me, and I will support her 100%. And when she gets from point A to point B, she may change her mind. The bottom line is that the darkness did not manage to do what it was supposed to do and turn off the lights. That's what darkness wants to do. It wants to turn off the lights no matter how it can. And Gary Zukav said that the challenge and the task for the advanced or the expanding mind is to expand to a level at which questions that cannot be answered from within the accepted understanding of truth can be answered. And that is where I am moving from right now. And that is why I'm experiencing the world in different colors and in different shapes and different sizes. And really, I have had this opportunity to sit back and truly experience what people are feeling from a place of compassion and love that I never believed. Wrong. I thought I had. I thought I was compassionate. I thought I was loving before. Who I was before is my former self, and I acknowledge her. I acknowledge her, and I acknowledge her path, and I acknowledge the good deeds that she has done. But it's time for me to step into this other place of God only knows what's going to happen in 10 years from now. They say it takes 5 years to become an expert. So I am going to present my body of work, and in 2020, I can enter the Olympic Games of the Lightworkers Olympics, and I'm going for the gold. The bottom line is that you do not get to succeed in putting out the light. The darkness does not get to win. So now we're talking about duality, light and dark, the force. It's like, just not liking evil things does not make you a light worker. So let's define what a light worker is, really. Let's define what a light worker is, because here, do you even know me? Like, that's the other thing that I wanted to say to this guy. Like, let's just say, just for, shits and grins, Millie was downloading porn. Like, I don't care. I really don't care. It's none of my business, because, there's even goodness in hell, all right? Even, if you're in hell, there's even goodness in hell. And I know, because I've been there. And I've got the ashes to prove it, by the way. They're available on eBay for $9.99 a jar.
Awesome.
The bottom line is that you have to keep moving. And to presume that somebody who smokes or drinks or has done drugs or is in prison or has done vile, horrible, terrible things, who are you to presume? Who are any of us to presume, who gets to hold the light? Because, somebody's got to do it. And it seems to me that okay, here, let's talk about numbers, Zen Master Ted. I'm not very good at numbers, so you're going to have to listen very closely, sir.
Okay.
The White Light Express. Let's talk about the White Light Express. It's my passion and my love. And, we're really working on developing that, but we've got a plan. So the White Light Express is 900 registered members, right?
Right.
Okay. White Light Express, 15 years, 900 registered members. Out of the White Light Express 900 registered members, I have 62 people who are actively registered on the Guardians of the Grid. And these are the people who agree to do the opening and closing grid and to stand however they want to, whenever they want to, during the new moon to the full moon, and really just focus positive white light on the people who are asking for healing, transformation, miracles, what have you, right?
Right.
Out of those 62 people who are registered as Guardians of the Grid, okay, active on Facebook, right, not even on the forums, 12 of them are actually participating. Like I went back and I started looking, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so Zen Master Ted, give us the math on that.
Well, that means we end up with approximately 1.3 to 1.4% of everybody who is saying they're interested in the White Light Express actually being active participants who are walking their talk, so to speak.
So we can say then these are active light workers.
These are active light workers.
Okay, so what about the other 900 people who are just interested? Are they light workers? This is rhetorical. You don't have to answer that.
They may be or they may not be. I mean, again, we know who the active ones are, but then how do we discern whether somebody who wakes up and on Tuesday morning sends positive intention out there and then otherwise sits on the couch and eats bonbon, whether they're a light worker? They're a light worker in that moment.
They get to hold a light.
They get to hold a light.
Got a light?
Got a light.
Got white light.
But the rest of the time, they're holding a box of bonbons, and they couldn't really care, or they don't have the bandwidth to worry about whether there's light or dark.
Okay, so then we have a separation there. Do they just not care, or do they just not have the bandwidth? And I think it's very, very, very important to realize that media and the way the world is pushing us forward. Let's remember, the darkness will tell you 99 truths to get one lie across. You know, I don't care if you're telling 99 lies to get one truth across. Can you hold a light? And that's why I started developing a list of my favorite people out there who I admire and who I think are walking their talk. And two of those people are Marianne Williamson and Ernest Hemingway. There are quite a few more out there. But, you know, I look at Marianne and I think, this is a cabaret singer. This is a woman who, you know, she did what she did. She's a single mom. You know, she's done her thing. She wrote a course on miracles, and she's pretty straight up. You know, she doesn't pretend to be something she's not, but, you know, she's not afraid to be who she is and to stand for what she believes in.
Right, exactly.
And I'm really, and there's a legacy, all right? Well, not all of us have the wherewithal and the strength to build a legacy. And I thought that, you know, I had reached kind of the top of the pyramid. Just earlier this year, I had an experience. I'm like, yeah, man, this is what this was all for. And I realized that I just graduated from kindergarten. I mean, really, I feel like I've graduated from kindergarten. So we're going to talk about not being in kindergarten when we get back from this break. You're listening to OMTimes Radio, and this is Radio Namaste with the Blue Collar Goddess, Sarah Nash.
Connecting you with the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Dr. Kevin here, and I want to invite you every Thursday, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to join me on the Dr. Kevin Show, where we have a diversity of guests who help you step outside the box, behind the curtain, and see what a load of crap is going on in the world today, so you have more information with which to make better decisions. We'll see you there. Namaste.
Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community. Are you trying to get from point A to point B and need a little advice? Connect with the counselors at OMTimes Advisors. Whether you're looking for a life coach or a spiritual intuitive, the advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
What if living didn't have to be so serious?
What if you could move beyond your problems with greater confidence and ease than you've ever imagined?
Throw your labels out the window and join the Irreverent Therapist for practical tips and a very different way of approaching the changes you would like to create.
Marilyn Bradford
and Pam Hodling
have empowered hundreds of people to come out of self-judgment, quit looking to experts, and begin to create the lives they desire.
Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Irreverent Therapist Show.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
And we're back. We're heading into the final countdown here. One of the points that I wanted to bring out was Coffee for Consciousness. Vito Mulchahey. This guy kind of breaks it down for you in his book, Coffee for Consciousness, about how it's really important for us not to shame each other, okay? And that was the element that I found really lacking in a lot of the stuff that I was reading. I mean, you know, there's some excellent material out there with regard to the ascension process and the expanding your awareness and consciousness, which is really just, I think it's really ramping up, you know, based on the level of the questions that the clients are coming to me with. And it's not so much now, oh my God, am I ever going to find my soulmate? Which is really, you know, it's a valid question, but yeah, you will. Okay, next, you know, it's going to happen. You know, at the end of the day, here's the other thing. Thank you, Leonie and Christopher Buck, for believing in me and for sticking by me and for sticking to your truth. Because there aren't a whole lot of people out there who, you know, would step up to the challenge and say, yeah, Sarah Nash is awesome. She's the blue-collar goddess. We love Radio Nahmaste. And if you don't like her, that's too bad. You know, she speaks the truth. You know, at least the way she sees it. Like, you know, it's not like they're going out there waving my banner, but they stood beside me when other people would not. And that is consciousness. And they didn't endorse it, but they didn't not endorse it. They just said, yeah, you know, everybody gets a right to their own opinion. And so I'm very grateful, and that's the other thing, the gratitude in my heart. When we returned home from Denmark, I returned home to a beautiful meal, to beautiful friends, my publicist, the incredible Mary Elizabeth Berry, who from Berry Inc. is stepping up to the challenge of representing me. I mean, you know, either she's clinically insane or she's just, you know, she stayed here at my home, and we powwowed and we really brainstormed, you know, the next, where we're going next with my career. And, you know, it's public knowledge that she and I have had some of our difficulties and differences because, you know, as we ascend, things get really confusing because the darkness and chaos magicians, who are the most vile of creatures on the planet, woe to all you, whoa, all hail Discordia, heck yeah. When you institute that and walk away without accountability and responsibility, I'm sorry, we're moving to a new age now. And this is what's going to start happening more and more and more. There will be more of us who will not be diminished by the ability for these people to quench the light. Because while Millie has said, listen, I can't put myself out there in the public eye, guess what? Now she's even stronger and better because she knows that people love her and support her. And when she is challenged, you know, she gets to still hold her light. And perhaps at this time, it's better for her to hold her light where she is until she develops the ability, if she chooses to. And here we go with the shame. If you were truly at my level, you know, that's the other thing that I get. It's like, who are you to say what level you're at? And I have to say that's one of the things that I didn't actively really dig, because I believe that there's different levels of consciousness, and they're all appropriate, all of them. And as I developed this new paradigm of reading oracles, the final Zen Master Ted, you've been my guinea pig. It's been a really wild ride, and I can't imagine what's going to come out next. But so, Vito Mulchahey, thank you for teaching us to avoid the shame game. Thank you for being an incredible light worker and writing this book called Coffee for Consciousness. And the winner of that signed copy is...
Well, let's go in here into the bucket and pull out a name. We actually have real paper here. The winner is...
Crinkle the paper so they can hear it. Okay.
Marta Arihana. Marta Arihana, you have won a copy of Coffee for Consciousness, signed by the author Vito Mulchahey.
Awesome. So we'll get on that. Read the book, share it. Like there's a part of me that like wants to like buy a few it's expensive, all right? It's not, it's a textbook, people. Think textbook. Don't think the $9.99, pocket manual for, chewing gum, all right? This is a textbook for life. And quality, I mean, there have been a few people like, man, it's so expensive. Well, because it's a damn fine book. It's a textbook for life. Go to college.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to have to take out a student loan just to buy your books, all right? So this is College for Life. It's Coffee for Consciousness 101. It's a beautiful piece of work, too, by the way. It feels like a textbook. It's got the vibration and the frequency of a textbook. So congratulations, and I can't wait to have Vito back on because we're going to talk about conscious parenting. Because really lately I feel as though I've been like a 5-year-old clinging to everybody's legs going, don't go. I don't know what's happening. But the gratitude that I have in my heart is just overwhelming. And that's a new thing. I used to think that I was thankful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. When I got home and I woke up and I walked my labyrinth the following morning when we landed from Denmark, I had this amazing, every day is like an amazing spiritual experience. It's like I can't keep doing this. And I keep getting to this point where I'm like almost to the point of tears because it's so real and the emotions they're not filtered through anything anymore. I think that's what it is. And it's like, man, I was so blind. And I think this is where a lot of people start tripping the light fantastic. I think this is where they start making decisions like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to go forward. Like they just decide to shut it down because it's really overwhelming. And I've been there a couple of times. And then, or they like go to drugs. Like, oh wow, I need to numb myself. I need to do this. I need to do that. And because they haven't developed a support system or a support network around them. And that is where the gratitude came in. As I walked my labyrinth, I realized that I have a very core group of beautiful friends. And we have traveled the road. Let me tell you something. I pity the mofo who tries to break us up now because it has happened before. There have been people in the past who have lied, like to Mary Elizabeth. People lied to her. They're like, Sarah is like Emperor Palpatine. She's so evil. And that's why Millie, when she was talking to me, she's like, this kind of reminds me of what happened to you. And I'm like, oh my God. Chaos magic has got that. We need to start pointing at it and not be afraid of it because I know how it works. And you're going to read about that in my book because, there's certain things that you're just going to have to go, yeah, this stuff's real, or yeah, no, it's not. It's not for me to decide for you. You get to decide for yourself. Let's talk about deciding for yourself for next week. JP Sears is my guest next week. I've been remiss at putting all the information out there, but I'm like, yeah, it's JP Sears. Everybody knows JP Sears. It's sort of like, he is awesome and he is the reason, he's my inspiration behind one of my videos on YouTube. I'm the most spiritual person on the planet. JP, I wanted to challenge him to a spirit off, and when I finally bit the bullet, and I was brave enough to invite him to be a guest on Radio Nahmaste. I was kind of like chomping on my nails, sort of like Michelle White Dove. It's like, why would she want to talk to me? She's so awesome. But why would Vito want to talk to me? You're so awesome.
Because you're awesome. So it's shared awesomeness, and it's that principle of synergy. When you bring two things that are awesome together, you sometimes end up with more than the sum of their parts. And I think that's part of what Radio Namaste does. It brings awesome people together, and other people get to hear it.
Well, and here's the other thing. I genuinely think these people are awesome.
Yeah.
It's like my personal life coach, and I'll reveal all that later. She was like, you have to stop telling people they're awesome because their heads explode. She says, it's like when she's like, listen, there's qualities of people. She's like, when somebody tells you you're awesome here and somebody tells you you're awesome here, who do you believe? I'm like, the really one that I think this is awesome. She's like, you're awesome. So stop telling people who need to really work on their awesome that they're awesome because they take it, they run with it, it goes to their heads, and it's kind of like crippling them. So be careful with your words. And I was like, okay, that was a little while back. What else is awesome is that the show is on. Well, maybe it's not awesome. Maybe I should go for like a 9-hour show or something.
Well, we could try that. I'll be so bold as to say then we have to wear a bag. And
Brain surgeons are awesome. They stand there for 17 hours and do what they do, and I think that's insane. But, I'm a light worker. What are you? I'm an expert light worker. Tell me what you're an expert at. Hashtag what you're an expert at, and hit me up on Twitter at Radio Nahmaste. Say, I'm an expert at hashtag whatever, and we'll put you in the running for a reading. Ooh, we forgot to do that.
Well,
we're like almost at the end. Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah. So let's give people out the Nahmaste Award. We have the Father Mulchahey Award. By the way, that is from the Karma Violation Factory, the Karma Cops. They provided a ticket book. You can go to. They have more of those books, by the way. And we'll have to tweet that, the Karma Violation Factory. They are hysterical. These look like actual tickets. Wait till you see the picture of the one that I take. And the Nahmaste Award, normally our sponsor, Alchemy Stones, which are incredible and part of the process, by the way. And by the process, I mean the process of my Oracle deck. See, I have to stop doing that. It's like, you all know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
No, they don't. Alchemy Stones is our sponsor, and we can't send Denmark an Alchemy Stone, although we did leave one there.
We did leave one there, but it's a little different when you think about this week's award because we're giving it to the people of Denmark.
Yeah, we are giving the Nahmaste Award to the people of Denmark for being for following through and taking care of their land and having respect for the things that happen.
Yeah.
All right, so have respect for the things that happened here at Radio Nahmaste and listen to us next week when we bring on J.P. Sears. He's awesome. All right, I'm out of here. Me and my crazy self, always honoring the inner lunatic in you. I don't care if you honor mine. I honor yours. I got a light. You got a light?